flowers on your stone. We both know that I was wrong. We both know I'm not like that anymore. Us, I'm not far behind. We both know that I was wrong. We both know I'm not like that anymore.
Hey guys, well, this is Tyler here.
This is Chris.
And you know, in this episode we actually talk about getting away with an investigation at the Molly Stark location. It's not the case. We actually have been charged with criminal trespassing at the location. When you're doing this stuff, there are risks, and if trespassing is something you do, there's consequences sometimes, you know. And we've got to go to court now, but we hope you guys make the right decisions when you're doing your stuff.
This doesn't ruin what we do. Yeah, there is consequences.
We're just going to try to keep it a little bit more clean from out of here, get permissions on locations, try to do some house stuff, and just hope you guys don't get angry with us.
Yeah, don't get upset. It'll be all right. We'll be okay.
Thanks for listening, guys.
You are listening to By the Burial Ground, hosted by paranormal investigators Tyler Carter and Chris Stanton.
Just like when we went in, we were drawn back and all around.
Exactly. All right, guys, and you're listening to By the Burial Ground. I'm Tyler.
I'm Chris.
And we're here with another episode. This one's more just about our investigations and stuff we've gone through recently. We've been trying to mix it up, toss in an alien episode, a cryptid episode, stuff like that, because we don't want to keep you guys bored. But we had plenty of investigations, even though we had to take some time off in between our last talking about our hauntings and whatnot. And now and today we went out, and oh man, it was a good one. We went out to Molly Stark today, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later in this episode. But Chris, man, how was that day today?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can't. It's just still going through me as we speak. I've been through a couple of these intense moments. By far, this has been the top. Anything for you guys, this is what we're doing.
And we're going to talk a little bit about knowing the locations you're heading to and making sure that you assess the risk factor, because at our Molly Stark investigation today, we ran into a ranger. We didn't actually run into him, but we had to hide pretty low for a while a ranger was outside, and not a situation we want to get into again.
Yeah, it was pretty intense, quiet 25 to a half hour, just trying to figure out, and it was intense, but we got out. Not the way we came in, but we got out.
We had a hobby fence, a very tall fence.
And I'm not the young person anymore, but I still made it through.
Yeah, we got out of there. We ended up walking it off, running into a couple of old ladies, walking a Dalmatian, and we bullshitted with them for a second, and then continued moseying on. So when you're doing these investigations, make sure you know what you're getting into, because you're not always going to be in a place where people want you to be, especially when it comes to law enforcement or park rangers or, you know, people of that kind of authority. Exactly. So yeah, make sure you assess and know what you're getting into. We knew that there was going to be the potential for something happening. Yeah, there's risk. And we almost had to pay the price, which would probably have been a nice little fine or something, but we got out of there today, and it wasn't too much of an
Yeah,
issue.
I had to make sure. I was like, no, you're not going that way. We're going another way. And it wasn't the best way. It was a little sketchy, trust me. It wasn't the best situation. I know you were trying to balance on a rusty pipe through a small hole. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, rusty pipes and small holes. It sounds something out of a horror movie. So
It
stay
felt
away
like
from
it.
stuff like that.
Felt like it. Trust me.
But we're going to talk a little bit later in the podcast about the actual goings on of the Molly Stark, and we're still pouring over some of that, footage and some of the things we had there. So give us about a week or so, and we'll have that all flushed out. But we know the gist of what happened there today.
Oh my gosh, yes. We got in some places. I have been there before, but with less intensity. But you're still pumped when you go inside these places, because at any time, just like today, little Mr. Park Ranger is sitting outside waiting. Plus, we had a lot of other people interests out there, like flying drones that sounded like a banshee because we were inside. We didn't know at first. That scared the crap out of us when you're in these places. Yeah, it may be during the day, but guess what? When they're boarded up, it's still dark and dingy, and there's always spirits about.
Yeah, and we went down through tunnels that were deep, deep underground. Not like deep underground, but right underneath the surface, underneath the actual Molly Stark itself and the parking lot area.
And the maintenance building and the little offshoot maintenance building and the office building. They're all connected in one.
Yeah. So we're down in these underground tunnels, and it was definitely a moment where you could feel a very, very intense presence down.
I call it the ghost tunnels because I've caught the apparition in the smaller building. They go in between. It's just like,
the system of tunnels that runs right underneath there.
Between both buildings. And they got free reign.
And going through those and all the areas we went through today, I mean, the Molly Stark area is pretty torn down. But let's talk about D Block real quick, because we went out to D Block a couple weeks ago, and that's D Block 40 Park. And that's what, Peninsula, Ohio still, right?
That's Peninsula, Ohio.
Yeah, and Peninsula is where the Everett Road covered bridge is, which you've talked about before in the podcast. But we went out there, and we had a lot of intense experiences out there. And a lot of people who, Paranormal Den, shouts out to everybody at Paranormal Den.
Jason Emmerich.
Yeah,
shout out to him, too.
All that group out there who does great things. But we actually had a medium, Philip Wyatt is his name, and shouts out to Philip. I'm so glad you were there, part of our event. But he was channeling the spirits through our stream as we were going through, and caught the presence of a young man, probably about in his 20s, who possibly had died near or actually on the train tracks that ran over this tunnel we were exploring.
Yes.
And if you go back and you go to that footage around that area, we're getting a lot of activity, not only on the live stream, but on Chris's cameras, and not only his first person, but his actual, his DSLR, his actual camera he's shooting with. So we had a lot of experiences that were going on around the time that this Philip character was telling us about these things and giving us instructions in order to get better contact or more reaction from this person, the spirit.
Right.
So it was a great moment, because
you always need that medium because they see more than we can. Yeah, me and Tyler are still kind of like the ghost magnets, but the mediums and psychics, they seem to talk and know that we don't see still.
And I'm sure that not only seeing, but feeling and hearing things on a different level, because the more your mind is susceptible to certain things, the more your mind is open to certain things, the more chance you're going to have to hear things that other people's minds. We all know how crazy auditory tricks can be. We hear things where sometimes somebody hears one word, somebody hears another, and there's silly things on the internet that go on about that.
Gosh.
But to think that another person is more open and that their ability to hear certain things is different, it's definitely, it's a different feeling altogether. And everything he was doing, every direction he was pointing us to, led us to a more intense feeling. We were feeling lots of cold spots. We had EVPs that were passing through the live stream. If you go through to that time, I think it's about 30 minutes in, somewhere around
A
there.
couple spirit boxes, not too many.
But
You got some.
yeah, the EVPs just they were speaking directly through the stream, and we still have to go back and clean up a little bit of that footage, and we got some footage to go through from today's exploring, but there's so many things you can just notice as we're going through, and the D block quarry that was a nice area because we were completely alone out there, other than a couple moments we had spotted some people who were walking across the trail up top there, but that was short period of time. They weren't even there that long.
No.
So we were able to really get a good feel of that place, and we're going to go back at some point. We like to revisit certain places just to get a good feel.
You never know, because yeah, we go back to some of these same places, but there's always a different feeling. Like for Tyler, I always wanted to introduce him to Molly Stark, and it turned out to be a great day, an intense moment, but a great day, and he felt what I was been feeling all this time.
Yeah, and I loved going out there today. Still on D Block though, outside of having that young man, we had a female voice that popped up on the spirit box.
I remember that.
And we had a couple of orb activities, and we had lots of bugs, and we called them out as bugs right during that moment.
And I want to call out when you were off to the actual lock, and I was still under the table, when I was trying to communicate, I was like, are you ashamed of what you did? And I heard a noise, and I immediately ran. And that was experience. The camera actually shut off at that time. But I remember specifically saying that, are you ashamed of what you did? And all of a sudden you hear this noise, and I'm like bolting out there. It's like, whoa.
And you also, while I was down, I got down in the creek river area in the quarry, and you saw mist just start to appear. I mean, it wasn't a foggy night. It was a clear night. We had no issues. Night. And you saw mist form around me, and you got a picture of it as well.
I think that picture got, because my camera and some of my video actually got messed up.
That's right. I forgot you had a little bit of corrupt data.
Yeah, I don't know why. I do the same thing I did tonight. Upload and download pictures, no problem. This, however, seemed to be a little problem, which is a little strange, which means we will go back out there. Trust me, this is not the last time you'll see us go out to the quarry.
And that was crazy, because you're like, hey man, there's some mist around you, and like I started to feel a creep. That was the last
part of our night. We were ready to go.
Yeah, we were just getting ready to get out of there.
And the camera went and downloaded.
Yeah, it was, oh man, it was such a crazy moment too, because as soon as we had that, after having that on top of that male figure on top of the train tracks, then we had a train pass over.
Oh my god!
As we were there,
talk about the biggest trigger object ever.
Oh, and it generated so much energy. We had a ton of action happen right after that passed over. Mm-hmm. So it just goes to show what kind of energy just that train generated for these spirits.
Oh my god, a lot of energy actually for this medium to actually pick up on some of the stuff. And he was probably out of Ohio. I don't know where he's actually from.
I don't know. He was one of the gentlemen. He's associated with the Paranormal Den guys.
Yes.
You also had one of your friends from back in the day who's got medium, abilities.
Yes.
She was kind of giving you a guidance towards different things when you were out in...
It's always good to have the medium. I never expected this, because there's also, she shared that video, which I put on our page, that you see actually this little shadow of a hand just close the door.
Yeah. And this is just a video from an abandoned place that her friend was working on in Kentucky.
Yes, exactly. Louisville, Kentucky.
And what was her name again?
Michelle Megan.
And shouts out to Michelle, because you walk through the cemetery that actually gives us the By the Burial Ground name with her guiding you, and you had a lot more stuff happening around you.
Yeah, she sensed a lot of things. I've stuck into other cemeteries as well, sensed a lot of things. And I've just showed pictures, and she picks up on things later and sends them to me. It's like, oh, look, I picked up on... And actually the day of the accident, I went to that Evercover Bridge and the Ira Cemetery, which is called near there.
Yeah.
And she sensed a 60 to 70-year-old man sitting next to me.
Really?
Yes, I do not lie. And you can talk to her and back it up. She's got an awesome gift. Some people think it's like weird to have this gift. It's not. Trust me. It helps us during these investigations as well. Because, yeah, we still pick up on things, but not as much as these psychics and mediums that have that extra sense. Seems
Yeah,
like.
they're sensitive to things that we're not. And that's something that, as we go through these things and as we discover more, maybe that will change a little bit. But for the time being, people who are more in tune with that level, who are on that same, that same wavelength, whatever you want to call it, we're going to love the assistance of people like that while we're going on to our investigations so that we can be more interactive with the spirits that we're trying to investigate, because we're not going out there and just like, oh hey spirit, you want to fight me or none of that.
No, we're not like that.
We want to learn as much as we can and make sure that we're trying to understand why these spirits are sticking around. 9 times out of 10, and that's just a random statistic, but you hear that these spirits or most of these situations are caused by an extreme event happening or something negative happening,
Or
like a murder, a death, unsuspected, or something like things
tuberculosis. I mean,
a lot of things dark things tied to it.
Exactly.
So in these situations, we're just trying to figure out what's going on, and because we have enough experience, we've had enough experiences happen in our life that these things are more interesting for us to try to go out and learn a bit more about, so that we can add more to our knowledge as well as be more comfortable with the situations we've already faced.
Exactly. I mean, all these locations we go to, yeah, some of them during the day, but spirits still come out during the day, depending on. Like my e.v.p. I caught from Molly Stark was during the day.
And we still may have some EVPs or some other things,
Exactly.
pictures, things we need to capture out of the videos. We did a rough overview of them, and we've looked at everything before recording.
I still need to download 2 more videos, but I got 1 video up before we started our podcast tonight.
And we'll get the rest of that up as we go through and find certain sections or certain things to call out. We'll get that done as well. But we really want you guys to be a part of all that, because your interactions and the more you guys do, I mean, we had so many people coming out and talking with us while we were out there, and we don't mind talking back,
Thank you again to Jason from Paranormal Den to leading them to us on this live feed today. I'm sure there's more popping up as we speak, watching this. Even right now we're watching this on our TV, but on silent, and it just still amazes me how much footage we got and how many people actually joined us or still watching us like they are joining us.
Now, getting into the Molly Stark investigations, actually going into that today, we were really going there more so as like a general overview and to get a good lay of the land, get into some areas.
Well,
it turned into much more than that.
It turned into much more than that, and I'm still giddy because we explored this place. You wouldn't think it from the outside if you look at our photos and video, but there's a lot of different areas that we still haven't in this beautiful architecture of a building. And it's just amazing that this building is here in Ohio when it was originally built to treat tuberculosis, which was the scariest disease back then. And a lot of the stuff, even our Edwin Shaw, before it was tore down, sadly, was an old tuberculosis hospital. And I found the old cemetery that's still on the grounds that actually Paranormal Den wants to investigate with us at night. Well, that'll be hopefully later.
And we'll have them on the podcast as well. I know Jason's mentioned it. I want to get them Jason and his crew out here. We'll set up the mic. We'll go out to visit them if we need to. But I want to get Paranormal Den because these guys are a little bit stronger and a little bit more experienced in the game than we are.
Yes.
They've definitely been at this for a little bit longer. And they've been kind of like a big brother figure to us as we've been doing some of our investigations. They've helped us out a lot, yeah. and I appreciate everything they've done. So we're going to be talking with them. We want you guys to hear stuff from them, hear some of their stories, because I'm sure they've got some amazing stories.
I'm sure they have.
Jason, that whole crew is just top notch. Everything they do is really cool, and I definitely want to get them out here to talk, or like I said, go out there and talk with them.
With ITC too. So.
Yeah. So that's something that you can see down the line. One of the things we mentioned earlier, and I just want to reiterate and also kind of give you guys the levels of what you're looking at whenever you're going into certain paranormal places. You've got certain places that are public property. So public parks like Squire's Castle. That's one of the places I want to go to today, but unfortunately it's just too far of a drive out, and we still needed to come back home and take care of some stuff and record, go over some videos, and we didn't want to overwhelm ourselves today.
Well, that we've been under the weather too. So.
We're just getting over being sick as well. But that's a low level, haunt when it comes to risk of like park rangers, cops, anything like that.
I would call Molly Stark medium because when I first started to investigate Molly Stark, and when we first, with our other investigator Erica, when we got in, it wasn't such of a risk, but I think that this place is becoming more popular, as we saw today, with us and people with their drones outside.
Yeah, something was going on.
Because there is, if you try to look up inside Molly Stark, you won't see many videos except for our two now, and some other drones and some other people that randomly got in, but it wasn't for paranormal investigations.
Exactly. There's a risk that, you know what, if we would have got busted by that ranger today, we might have gotten in a little bit of trouble, might have got a fine, something like that. But then there's higher risks where you're dealing with police officers and in some cases
Sheriffs.
military level people. You have to know the locations you're going to. Chris, you were banned from somewhere, right?
Yes, it was the old Air Force base up near Youngstown, Ohio. So if we step foot on that property again, it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, and that's one of the risks you have when you're an amateur investigator. And we're actually, speaking of amateurs, we're watching the part in the video where the Rangers, we're literally watching the Rangers sit outside and talk to some folks. We think somebody might have actually called the Ranger on us, but, whatever. But they were...
It might have been those drone people, actually, because
Well,
they were disturbing people's picnic outside.
And he was talking to the drone people for a while. We could hear him yammering on, but I literally had the video just pointed right at him the whole time while Chris and I are still inside Molly Stark. And it was unfortunate that our investigation got cut short because of the Ranger, and, we had to kind of stay low, couldn't move around a lot. We were kind of pinned down for a little bit because he, at one point, pulled off to the side and sat with his car pointed at the hospital, looking at us.
The hole we got into the fence, yes.
Yeah. So we ended up having to jump over the fence afterwards.
Wow.
But that's why we want to say when you're investigating places, know where you're going.
And know the risk.
Know the risks.
Sometimes, yes, you're going to get caught, but sometimes you won't. But still.
You've had cops pull up to you at locations. You've dealt with military people.
Yes.
We've dealt with rangers. And we've been, we've had a lot of stuff go on.
The only ranger that's cool that I haven't taken out to Tyler yet is our Gore Orphanage up here in Ohio.
Oh yeah, Gore Orphanage. We're definitely going to get out there.
But the park ranger said if you stay on the road, which is really right off the road, that you're not trespassing, it's still public road. That one was cool. These guys at Molly Stark, not so cool.
No, this guy was waiting for almost a half an hour for us to come out of Molly Stark today. And
some of them have dogs, actually. He didn't have his dog with him, unfortunately, because those, how dogs have extra senses.
Yeah, exactly. They would have sniffed us out in a second, But we were able to get out of there today. We almost hurt ourselves getting out of there, but we got out, and that was a good investigation. I mean, the presence, it was midday, and the presence was more intense than any investigation at the Everett Covered Bridge Road.
It's more at night, but there was still a feeling.
I'd love to see what that place is like at the witching hour,
Gosh, would I ever want to see what this place is like during the witching hour?
Well, if we want to do that, that's one of those things that we're hoping down the road we can get somebody to clear us,
right.
So we can go in there fully equipped, night vision, the backpack setup, all that kind of stuff, because we really need to get a great investigation into that place.
Yes, because we know we tried this before, staying past park hours. As soon as the park close hour came upon us one time, they kicked us right out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's why we say know where you're going, because sometimes you have to be kind of operating within the parameters of the law and with the rangers, you
Or,
know.
like we said after we were done and like we're good. What did I say? It's like it's always a good with locations that are medium or high risk to have like a pair of eyes outside to tell you if you're inside what's going on. That
Yeah.
way, you can kind of deter them from.
Well, and we were able to, like, I mean, if you watched our 50-hour live stream, we're catching the end part of it right now. We're literally sitting in there looking through like a 3-4 inch gap of a window, trying to like watch this
Let
ranger.
me tell you, there's a lot of windows in that place. I'm pretty sure he did not see us at all. Obviously, he would have probably stayed longer if he saw us.
And he left just as we were leaving. At one point, I think we're almost prepared to have to just go talk to him, you know. But we
I let
waited
him-
it out long enough. Chris was able to get us out the right way, and it turned out to be a good situation. We walked
Stuck
around the
in
park.
high
We
places.
we took some touristy kind of pictures just to kind of wrap it up and got ourselves out of there.
Exactly.
And that was definitely fun, terrifying, exciting, exhilarating, all those things wrapped up in one, you know.
It makes me feel young again since I'm older.
Yeah, and it's just one of those experiences where, yeah, it's terrifying at points, and you're like, oh man, I really don't want to deal with this guy because a ticket right now would not be fun.
No.
But then also it's like, all right, well, we did all that. We were worried, we got out of it, and boom, you know, everything's good. So it turned out to not be as big of a situation.
I like
as we
how people were trying to talk to us during the live feed during this. It was like, you're at a mellow tones, like, guys. Shh.
Yeah. We love everybody watching our streams, and we appreciate you guys being concerned for us as we were dealing with the situation. We posted a video up after we left, just kind of like, hey, we're safe, we're out of there,
We're okay,
we're good,
we're cool.
you know, we're good. And just to kind of let everybody know what was going on. And we're going to be going out to a couple of castles here soon. Franklin Squire's Castle. We were going to go out tonight, but we realized the one we wanted to go to was a little bit farther out of a drive. And by the time we got back, ate our dinner, got ourselves,
Yeah, 'cause
recharged
this-
back up.
From this place today, or this was about a 55-minute drive. It's very worth it. And after I think all the adrenaline wore off, we were kind of sore after that.
Well, we had to get out of there so quickly, and it was a very, very, let's call it unconventional escape, you know? Like, we got out of there in some weird ways. The way we got in and out of the actual building was a small, maybe like 3 foot by 2 foot little window way, and we snuck through and had to angle ourselves out and land on this hanging rusty ass pipe and drop down onto that to get actually into the building.
Whoever made that hole, please don't do that again.
Yeah, like at least drop something down there to jump down on, because you've got an 8 to 10 foot drop, and the only thing you have to do is you have to stick your leg out and catch this pipe, or you're going to be falling. And there's a ladder to the left, but you can't reach that from the window.
No, and they should have at least put. There's plenty of old chairs in there. They should have at least put that.
Oh, it was such a crazy situation, and I mean, I'm glad we got in. We got so much good footage while we were there, but the entrance and exit part was not pretty, and definitely a little bit risky. And that's also part of the known where you're going, because, you know, I used to go through some of the buildings on the east side in Cleveland, and a lot of these places are decrepit, falling apart, and you hear stories of people actually falling through floors. I know of some people out in Detroit who a gentleman fell through a floor while they were doing some painting and ended up dying. There's so much brain damage from all that stuff falling in on him. He fell through the roof of a building, and these things happen to people out there, so you have to be careful when you're investigating places that are falling down or more decrepit, because you don't want to die just going out there and looking for something like a spirit.
No,
And
you don't.
we're going to take our midway break, and we'll come back and kind of finish out this one. We still have some stuff to talk about and plenty of things to go over. So we'll be right back, guys.
Peace.
All right, Chris. So, why don't you give us a little background on Molly Stark, some of the goings on? I mean, it was shut down over 20 years ago and was supposed to be demolished.
9 years ago, because the commissioner of the Molly Stark Park bought it and was supposed to do asbestos remediation, which hence that's why the fences are still up.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to tear it down to add more picnic tables and that like a memorial park, just like you see today.
And
they still haven't got around to it.
Yeah, we went through there and we saw some areas that were marked off and had like asbestos signs and things like that.
Like the taped plastic in certain areas, yeah.
And
go ahead.
No, I mean like it's supposed to be a place that isn't even on the map anymore. Yet it's still standing, and they just put a fence up.
You can still say check in here. That's what I do because it'll still say Molly Stark Hospital.
Yeah, and I mean we went to that fence today. We didn't have to do anything. We just walked through a hole. There were tons of holes that you could see and people had already cut, and people have been in there multiple times. It's not like when we were at Deep Lock Quarry Park where we could literally just walk around because it was a public park and you could, there wasn't really much of anything other than like the tunnel and the actual quarry itself. The hospital has had tons of visitors, and you could just tell throughout the whole thing. Exactly. I mean, we went to that children's room today. Remember that children's room that had Winnie the Pooh and Tigger? I think
Disney
Donald
characters.
and Daisy Duck.
They even had the mouse hole right there on the bottom.
Right near the bottom, yeah. And I mean...
It was like, wow, you would never have thought this. Because, like, I've been reading, and I keep learning more. I already know it's tuberculosis sanitarium. They cured a disease back then that scared a lot of people and caused a lot of hurt and back then because they didn't understand it. And later... they turn it into a mentally ill hospital for the mentally ill people and the age. So this place, no wonder it has.
I mean, we're dealing with elderly, mentally ill, and physically ill.
Physically ill.
All in one building.
Building.
Who knows what kind of substandard medical practices were being, going on there.
Imagine.
Yeah. So this place is just chock full of negative energy. And like I said, it's definitely the most intense place we went. We went in the middle of the day, and it was still so intense just being there.
Right? I mean, it's just crazy. And it says they have tours on the outside during the day to cure that. Right. That's not going to happen.
No, and they're going to let people around the outside to just hopes that, nobody wants to go inside.
But come on.
I'm sorry, if you're trying to really investigate places, you got to get inside. And I mean, there's going to be risks, not only the risks of getting caught, but asbestos, torn down, decrepit buildings, things of that nature. You got to know what you're doing, and you have to be aware.
I'm reading out here, you can still sign up for those outside daytime tours. Okay.
Yeah. That's just to kind of walk around on the outside and take pictures towards it. I'm sorry, we were inside there today. You got to get inside. There's no other...
There's amount of risk, yes, but you have to get inside. We're not here to, graffiti, though we didn't see a lot of it. Which tells you...
There were a lot of penises. There was definitely more than 6
people
graffiti
are intrigued
penises.
Of drawing penises in these places. I don't know why. It's just weird. But
I think everybody just likes a good dick,
I guess so.
But yeah, we definitely saw some penises while we were out there. It's funny, but at the end of the day, it's like, well... more shit like that goes on, the harder it is for investigators. And I mean, I like a good graffiti penis, but I also like to investigate cool places, and when one is affecting the other, well, that doesn't become fun, So we want to go out and investigate these places without the risks of somebody being there and breaking up, demolishing, vandalizing, all that fun stuff. It's like, no, well, we don't need all that, We want to go there and see what's actually going on the spiritual realm.
Oh, you know what else? Because while we've been talking, I've been reading up. It said before the fence was put around Molly Stark, 60 people have been charged with misdemeanor criminal trespassing in 1 year alone. But they say it's been reduced to fewer than 20. Yeah. People are still getting in, though. I'm sorry.
Yep. It's unfortunate that they feel they need to charge people for just trying to explore and adventure into some of these places. I'm sorry, when you're a paranormal investigator, half the places you want to go to, you're not really supposed to be in, you know? And there's some places we want to go to that we'll probably never be able to get in. But if we find an opportunity to get into the places we can, we're going to go and we're going to investigate and we're going to try to figure something out, because there's too many things going on for us to not go out there and try to find the truth.
Exactly, and like I said, I was leading because I've been in there once before with our other investigator, Erica Franklin. She's another investigator on her team through the page,
and go check out that page. We have so much footage up right now. More to come through the week. I mean, Chris and I will have to spend most of our week.
Even our favorite video, our main video that I can't keep on there, since it was like a rare thing for anybody to see inside Molly Stark nowadays, was our first inside investigation. And I still have that as one of our favorites, ones that pop up on the main page part of videos.
And now we have an hour of investigation just up on the page now.
And the good thing about this, I led them into different parts that I haven't explored from the first time. There's, believe it or not, like I've been saying, there's still more to explore in here that me, Tyler, or Erica has ever seen before.
We realized when we were leaving, and after we looked over some of the videos, we walked right past a staircase that would have left us down into another part. Who knows? That could have been the morgue. That could have been
we were already on the bottom level, and we've done that before when we first started this. Before the old Edwin Shaw, which was the Springfield Sanitarium up in Akron by the Goodyear place, we passed by the same kind of step of stairs that would have probably led down to a morgue, which I'm always trying to find these places, but yet have not explored.
You get so excited when you're running around that place that, you're not really realizing that you're passing up a place where it's like, oh shit, if I would have just gone down those steps, I would have maybe seen a whole other thing I would have. But we were just finding like that tunnel. That tunnel
was exciting.
We walked probably 100-something feet into this tunnel. I mean, you can see the video. We walked for a while, so long that like the video cuts out at a point. I still have my chest cam on, so I'll have video that will cover that little gap where the little live feed cut out. But we were able to walk so far into this that like we couldn't continue without having actual like boots or something on, because it was so like muddy and gross down there.
These places get decrepit and lack of repair.
And as much rain as we've had recently,
yes,
plenty of places have been flooding. That place probably was full of water a week or so ago, and it's just cleared out, and it was just a mud pit. I mean, if you listen to the live video, you just hear
pushing through as far as
it's just go. It's a little stomp through the mud, I guess. But we went through and we went as far as we could. We cut back. We looked at another area down there, and we tried to explore as much of the dark areas we could. And I mean, even on our way out, we actually had to stop the video footage, but we were in there for like probably a good 20-30 minutes after we even stopped the live feed. And when we were leaving out, we were going down through that dark area down below. That was intense. I think that the spirits knew we didn't have cameras on us, and we had all of our equipment down, and they were messing with us a little bit. It took us a little bit longer to get out of there. I think something was playing tricks on us, and there were these chairs that were sitting out right in the middle of the hallways.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, they spooked us more than once.
I didn't even know one was sitting there.
Yeah,
and I took a picture, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, that wasn't there before, because that certain part I have walked through, where I showed you where we came in the first time.
Yeah.
With the other investigator, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm freaking out.
No, it was definitely crazy because as we came around that one corner in the hallway, you snap a picture and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's just a random chair dead center of the hallway right there. And then there was another random chair not too far down, dead center of another hallway.
You know, it's a couple of times I've stopped you, and we went silent for a little bit because I thought I heard something wasn't the drone.
Yeah,
that was there.
we call out the drone points in the video. We know when those were happening. You know,
I did hear some through my ears. I don't know. We haven't gone through all our videos yet, so. But when I thought I can hear some footsteps above us, which in the first video with the other investigator, we've heard footsteps before and door slamming when it wasn't windy. It wasn't very breezy in there, but there was definitely some cold spots, some times of heaviness. There was a lot of sadness that I felt in certain areas, especially around down the bottom, around the tunnel areas.
the tunnel was very heavy, and it wasn't really like the tunnel dynamic changed. It's just as you move farther in towards a certain area, an area that we couldn't get as far into this time, but we plan on going farther next time. We hit that room, and when I hit that room, I had that impending dread feeling. I think that was part of maybe the reason why I wanted to turn back, but also physically we couldn't have moved much farther.
This would have been the place where they wheeled the body somewhere.
Yeah.
Either to the other building or somewhere else. It just felt like, because it's weird, because there was a incline to these tunnels. There wasn't stairs. There was an incline. So most of the time that means something was...
It was a ramp. It wasn't stairs.
It wasn't stairs.
So it would be the perfect place to wheel a body into, whether it be about to be dead or dead, and just toss them in an incinerator or do something with the body down in this area. I mean, it opened into a very large room that could have easily had a bunch of equipment in it.
Yes.
Obviously, that stuff's not there now.
Nope.
But the amount of dread as soon as we hit that opening, I mean, the tunnel was enough, but we opened up into this, and you would think, like, oh, okay, it opens up, probably going to feel a little bit better. No, it was like, as soon as we got into that room, I'm like, ugh. And I mean, like, the video cut out at one point around that time, too. Obviously, we're underground, so it could have easily just been that. But we were underground the whole tunnel. I had the whole tunnel there, and then the whole tunnel back. It was live streaming. It's just as soon as we got into this room, that's where it cut out, and that's where we were getting our issues. And it was right around the time we started feeling this negative feeling.
And around that area is where we found a certain area where they burned a lot of records, books, or something.
Yeah, it was that floor above us there where they had like completely torched looked like a records room, like where they would keep all the like file cabinets and stuff. It was just all burned up, the whole room.
They didn't want us to know.
Check out the video, guys. So many of these places, there was a lot of fire damage, and I'm not talking about stuff that looks like some punk kids got in there and were just burning different things. No, this looks like it was part of what went on through the destruction and through the actual downturn of that place closing down. I mean, we saw so many rooms that were just completely torched or destroyed, ripped out. We went through the lobbies, we went through main areas.
Which is beautiful.
I mean, they are. The architecture is still there. It's beautiful. It's a little scary because we probably should have had some face masks on or something because of all that stuff we could have been breathing in. You know, these are things you don't think about. Unfortunately, sometimes you get a little bit just caught up in the hunt. But we had a lot of good moments of just feeling the presence of whatever travels or moves through that hospital.
Right, like I caught many things before, and I felt that again. And I know a spirit or two or three or how many spirits recognize me. Who knows if they called out to me today, because they just don't call out on command. Who knows when that happens? Hardly never.
And we wanted to do a spirit box session while we were there, but there was so much going on with the people outside, with the people, with us, going through the different rooms and finding things that we hadn't been, like Chris hadn't been through before. it was just kind of hard to sit still and do a solid spirit box session. But next time, I know the guys of Paranormal Den, the guys and gals at Paranormal Den want to go out with us next time. Hopefully, we'll have tons of EVPs and spirit box sessions as we go through the stuff we got through, the cameras and the audio and whatnot we had from this last investigation. We'll get that posted up. But going back to D Block Quarry Park, because I don't want to stray too much away from that, because I still want to talk about points of that. When we were up and we were on the train tracks area, we had so much, I don't want to say of that same feeling we had in the tunnel. It was a little bit different, but there was a presence there.
There was a presence there.
And before we even had, the medium calling out things for us there, we knew something was happening.
Oh, yeah.
We sat in the middle of that tunnel and we're like, wait, something feels weird. And we felt the presence, but it wasn't that strong. As soon as we went on top and we're on the actual tracks, I was standing next to the overlook area right above like where the tunnel area is and where it overlooks the path, that people can walk through that cuts through the park. I'm looking over this tunnel and I get this like impending feeling of either something's about to push me or like I want to throw myself over this gap, over this, edge and everything.
Whatever the person or persons wanted to do at the time they were there, either they got ran over or they just wanted this to end their life there.
And it would make sense if somebody got hit by a train there, where they would want to push you away from those tracks and keep you away from those tracks, because the more we walked up on, I mean, at one point I was literally standing in the middle of the tracks after that train had passed over, and I definitely felt like something was like wanting me not to be on those tracks.
No, there was definitely something there. And like you said, we've caught a lot of stuff there too, and you never know. Yeah, like I keep saying, we go to these same spots because we feel these are hot spots. These places need to keep being investigated, like Molly Star, like the Lock Quarry, like the Everett Bridge, Covered Bridge. Even our cemetery still needs.
And talk about that. Now, your medium friend was walking you through that cemetery, and we've walked through that cemetery. We have one of our best, clearest spirit box captures in that cemetery itself. She was guiding you into places on near stones and having experiences that we hadn't had before.
It's that, and it was in the same areas where we picked up that spirit box calling out. Now, to add to more to this, when I went out to the cemetery one time when Tyler was working, because sometimes I have different days off.
Yeah, our schedules don't always add up. That's why we have to kind of fit these things in when we can.
I went out, and I happened to pull up to another cemetery, and lo and behold, without even looking, I shit you not, I stopped next to a grave, and this person's name was Jacob. Now think about that for a minute. Maybe this Jacob came back with us to this spot.
And we were talking about how one of the signs that a spirit might be trying to attach himself to you is that scratching at the back of your neck. You felt it, I felt it. There's definitely been moments where I don't think if we would have been as warded up and protected as we were, we might have had something try to hitch themselves on. And even so, I mean, something could temporarily just hitch themselves onto us and carry ourselves back. I mean, we go out there, we always try to protect ourselves. We're always, being as safe as possible. But sometimes these spirits are trying to latch on and move around with you and pick up on your energy and what you're doing.
I've actually gone to Molly Stark many times with or without my fellow investigators, and even with my wife sometimes. And that's the day I caught that shadow figure in a smaller building.
Yeah.
But I feel maybe that something has attached to me or keeps wanting me, or like you said, it just seemed That's why Molly Stark to me is a spot that I will never get tired of going to, because ever since that first day we got inside and it called my name, and sometimes I feel like something's maybe attached.
Something's definitely drawing you back.
Someone keeps drawing me back, and I never get tired of going.
And today was another example of we were having such a great investigation, and then all of a sudden it had to just get cut short.
Cut short.
And that was unfortunate, but man, we were doing so well. And please, guys, Brunswick Area Paranormal Society. It's our Facebook page. Go check it out. I know that we kind of bounce back the links on Facebook between the podcast page and the Facebook page for the society. We have so much activity on there. We're posting new videos all the time. And I mean, even when we were sick, we were still trying to share some of our fellow investigators' videos,
Yes.
just to make sure that we have some new content for you guys to see. We're really trying to stay active with that. So
Give
you guys,
some ideas. So maybe you can share your experiences with us when we go into these times where us are feeling good, or life does happen, and we try to keep up as much as possible. I try to keep as much as possible. And thank you for Tyler for these podcasts, or else you wouldn't know about our paranormal page that I've started, a year, almost 2 years now.
well, and we're trying to cross everything up because the podcast ties in with a lot of our investigating and a lot of stuff that goes on with the page, and that's why we're always talking about the page in it, because when you go to the page, you're seeing the evidence. You're seeing us going out and doing the research. When you come to the podcast, you're discussing it with us. Yeah, you might not be in the room discussing it with us now, but at some point we'll be doing some live things and we'll get more things going along. But this allows you guys to be a part of the discussion. You listen to the podcast. If you have anything you want to talk to us about afterwards, go to our Facebook page, By the Burial Ground, at By the Burial Ground on Facebook. It's not very hard to find. Or you can go to the Brunswick Area Paranormal Society and you can see the different things that go on there. But hitting up on us up on either of those allows you guys to join the conversation and you guys to be a part of the investigation, because we're going out and doing this stuff, but we really like to hear your input, because we know you guys, if you're listening to this, obviously have some kind of interest and have had something happen in your life that's led you down this road. So why wouldn't we want to hear your guys' opinion? I know Chris is definitely down to hear your guys' opinion.
I would love to hear your opinion, and I post other people's videos on our page with your guys' permission.
And if you have something you want to share to us, we'll share it on our page, and we'll talk about it with you.
People even like that last one from Michelle Megan's friend from Louisville, Kentucky, renovating an old house. And obviously that's unedited. That's clear as day. Something's there.
Just like our live videos and some of our other videos, it's literally just boom, recorded, posted, that's it. There's nothing, there's no other step to it. And that's all he did, was he recorded it on his phone, sent it to her, and she sent it to us. So we're trying to capture a lot of this stuff, and as we get better, we'll get better equipment, and we'll be able to capture more. We got the night vision set up. We're almost ready with that, guys. We have to get a couple of pieces of equipment, and the night vision will be mobile. We'll be able to go around and have a multiple camera, multiple perspective night vision setup, and that's going to be next level. I can't wait for that.
You also mentioned about we have permission to investigate an area.
Oh, yes. Okay, so 2 people, a friend of mine's mother has actually contacted us, and her sister, so it's my friend's aunt, wants us to come investigate because she has 2 children of a very similar age, possibly twins, who have haunted her house, and she's lived in her house for I think 15 or 20 years and have had multiple experiences, over a decade of experiences in this house.
That's a lot
so
of experience.
we want to sit down and talk with them, and also we're going to do an investigation at that house. Also, my mom, bless her soul, she's I don't think I would probably be in some of this stuff or as susceptible to some of this stuff if it wasn't for her being so open-minded. I mean, she's been Christian in her past, but she's also been Wiccan and things like that, where her mind was more open to these things. And she had plenty of experiences as I was a toddler, of things that happened. And all through my childhood, I had lots of instances of like night terrors or like seeing something, and she can go through all that. Exactly. Chris is the same way. But her boss, she works at an American Legion in the Wayne County, Holmes County area, and she has gotten permission from her boss for us to go and do an investigation at one of these American Legions, which American Legions usually are hosted or they usually get old buildings that they take up,
Yes.
and they've had experiences to where one of the old gentlemen at this bar won't even go into the basement because he's so afraid of all the activity that happens there, and he's already seen things multiple times. So we have those two, investigations coming up. We're still going to be doing an investigation at our own house.
Yes, eventually. And I would love, now that you mentioned these investigations we're allowed to, I would really love Paranormal Den and Jason and their crew to come out with their equipment just to add like a co-investigation of this house.
Yeah, an overhaul.
American overhaul.
But that's the things coming up. We've got plenty of things we're going to be getting into. I think for the next couple episodes, it's probably going to be just ghost-related stuff because we have so much evidence and so many different things going on in that. We'll get into some other topics as we go farther into the podcast.
And
but
some
for
guests.
now, yeah, exactly. I think our next one we're going to have a guest. So
have a guest.
I'm excited. Keep an eye out for that. Look at the Facebook page. Keep following us on the Brunswick area Paranormal Society, and we just preach you guys. Yeah, by the burial ground, all that. So just keep checking us out, and I think that's all I got for this episode, Chris.
Either one, we coexist. We're still pumped up probably from today, which is granted. Why wouldn't you be? It was exciting and intense.
Yeah, no, and I think that that pretty much covers it.
Hey,
so
man.
It's been another great episode. We glad you guys join us each week, and I hope that you're really kind of catching the content and getting hooked like we are. We appreciate you guys, coming out and checking us out. Give us those 5-star reviews. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify now that they've actually revamped their stuff. So go check us out. And as always, thanks, guys.
Thank
I'm
you.
Tyler.
I'm Chris.
All right, guys. Have a good night.